Thank you for
Welcome. Only good for you.
It's gonna happen.
Good things will happen.
I was in the army. I was in the IPF. I was thinking about what was going on. They said that they were protesting yesterday,
Who was protesting?
the Palestinians,
Where?
right near the Christmas tree.
Mhm.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, on Xmas Day, people don't care. I thank you, Lord, show my God, because my person, all of a sudden, unfortunately, I was sorry.
Okay.
I recommend disruption.
Okay, we're on Lamed Gimel on the base, 33B. 33B. 33B3. Top of the page, top left of the page. Panarabon. Got it, 33B3. Huta Agdo B'Yom Tov. You know, we spoke about the idea, there's a machloket, there's an argument on whether you have to tie is there a biblical responsibility to tie the hadassim and the ravot to the lulav, or there's no obligation of tying the hadassim and ravot to the lulav. If you would hold them loose, it would be good, except there's this mitzvah called Hiddur mitzvah, to beautify the mitzvah. Adam, if you want to send to the group that we're on, there's a mitzvah to beautify the mitzvah. And you beautify the mitzvah by going ahead and tying the hadassim and the ravot together. That's how you beautify the mitzvah. So that's the question, whether you have to tie the hadassim and ravot. So we hold the halacha. You do not have to tie the hadassim and the ravot together from a Torah perspective, but we do it. We tie together for beautification purposes. So now the case was the person tied the hadassim and ravot together, and what happened was Huta Ugdo B'Yom Tov. It became the bundle opened up. It opened up on Yom Tov. It's no more tied together. Maybe he did some good shaking, and maybe as a result of some of the shaking, he got untied. So, what's the law? You're not allowed to retie it on Yom Tov. Tying the two ends together, because you're not allowed to tie on Yom Tov. It's one of the melachot on Shabbat. Can't make certain types of knots. You know, for sure, any permanent knot would be a problem. Professional knots, there's a lot of halachot on Shabbat regarding knots. You can't make, you don't make knots on Shabbat. So, and the same thing would apply that you can't make it on Yom Tov. So in the commentary over here it says that the prohibition of making a knot is a knot that lasts, a knot kesher shel kayama. It's made for a long period of time. But the knot of lulav, even though it's made for a small amount of time, how long is the knot of lulav for? It's for a week, right, until the holiday is over. But we'll consider it like a permanent knot because you're not going to open that knot. You're going to leave that knot forever. You look in the back over here. We have the lulav with the it's still tied. The hadassim, the ravot are still tied to the lulav. You don't untie it. It's not made to untie.
You mean the one we have here?
In the back. In the back, they have the lulav with the hadassim and the ravot that are tied together to it. right? Like everybody, like the Sfardim do for Yom Tov, they tie it and they leave it. They don't untie it after Yom Tov. Many, they take the lulav and they wait till Pesach and they burn it with the, I mean, so they leave it for at least until Pesach. And they burn it together with the chametz. Once you do one mitzvah, it's a mitzvah to do another mitzvah with that item of mitzvah. But they generally don't untie it, right? Now, the Rambam, the Rif and the Rambam hold, it's not called a permanent knot unless it's a professional knot, that it's made with like a craftsman's knot. But nevertheless, rabbinically, the rabbis say even a knot that's made for permanence, you can't tie it, even if it's not a craftsman's knot, professional knot, because if you tie a knot that's not a professional knot, you might come to tie a knot that's what? Professional knot. So therefore, whether to tie the knot on this bundle, whether it's forbidden on a rabbinic level, whether it's forbidden on a Torah level, depending on that dispute between the Rambam and the Rif on one side and Rashi on the other side, whether it has to be a craftsman's knot and remaining for a long period of time, you need both conditions, or just the fact that it's going to remain for a long period of time, and it's a knot, that's good enough. But at the end of the day, you can't go ahead and tie that knot. So what do you do with this bundle? Good morning, Jaime.
Morning, Rabbi.
Good to see you. We are on 33B3. We're just discussing a guy, he tied it before Yom Tov. He tied his lulav with the hadassim and the aravot, and you're not supposed to tie it on Yom Tov. He tied it before Yom Tov, but it got untied. The knot came off on Yom Tov. Maybe we said maybe he was shaking the lulav very well, and the knot came off. So now what does he do? He can't tie the knot on Yom Tov. We said you can't make knots on Shabbat. You can't make a knot, permanent knot, or a knot that stays for a long period of time. You can't make certain types of knots on Shabbat or Yom Tov. One of the malachot on Shabbat is making a knot. I can't make a knot. So we said that this knot, usually people leave for a long period of time, so there's issues with making such a knot, and therefore, what do you do? So the Gemara says,
Sorry, Rabbi. Are you allowed to make a bow? Like if you had drawstring pants, are you allowed to make a bow?
A bow that is made to open and close, right? In general, that's not. The Gemara itself is going to talk about a bow right now. The Gemara is going to say there's an opinion that says you can't make a bow, but in halacha we say you can make a bow on Shabbat. A bow that's made to or
tie your shoes. How about tying your shoes?
Right, tying your shoes. You make a bow, but to double knot your shoe on Shabbat, that's going to be a matter of question, because on the one hand you're making the knot in that knot has the ability to stay for a very long period of time because it's a double knot, but you're making it, your intention is to untie it the same day, the night. Rabbi David Feinstein told me not to make a double knot on my shoe. That's what he told me. I can't tell you what the halacha is, but other rabbis would say whether you should make a double knot on your shoe or you're allowed to or not, because the reason that maybe people might, the question here is, but it's not made for a long period of time, and also it's not a professional knot. So some say that the biblical prohibition is only a professional knot, and also if it's for a long period of time. So here it's not professional, it's not a long period of time. So would there be any rabbinic concern? That would be the issue. Making a double knot on the shoe would be a question. Would there be any rabbinic concern if you make a double knot on your shoe? But that would be a good question for, let's say, Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, to see what would the Sfardim hold. Would the Sfardim allow a double knot? Because they might, because they'll say it's not permanent, it's not made as a craftsman's knot. So maybe that will be and is there a rabbinic concern on a double knot on a shoe, which is made every day? That's a good question. So the Gemara says, what do you do with this bundle that you had, the Hadassim and the Ravot are no longer tied to the bundle? So the Gemara says, Ogdo ka'agudah shel yarek. You should wrap it the way you wrap a bundle of vegetables. When you sell a bundle of vegetables, how do you wrap it? You wind a strap around it. You put a strap around the vegetables. Let's say you put like a little piece of rope around the vegetables, and then you tuck in the end of the strap. You tuck in after you wrap it around, and you tuck in the strap. So that's not even a bow. And that's what this Tana of the Braita is so concerned about, making anything resembling of a knot. He says just you put string around it, and then tuck in the end of the string, and that's how you should go ahead and keep the Hadassim and the Ravos connected to the bundle. V'amai, the Gemara says, why do you have to do it in such a fashion? Why don't you just le'anvei ma'anav? Why don't you tie it with a bow? It'll be much more secure if you tie it together with a bow, right? You make a bow around, like the same way you make a bow around your shoes. Make a bow around the bundle of the Hadassim and Aravot, which you're attaching to the lulav. So the Gemara says, Hamani. The Gemara says that the author of this opinion is Rabbi Yehuda. This is Rabbi Yehuda, the Amah and Niva Keshira Maliatahi. He held that a bow is similar to a knot. It's secure. A bow keeps something in place very well. It could last for a very long time, and therefore he looked at it and said that you cannot go ahead and make a bow, even a bow. So he wouldn't allow it. So what would he do with the shoes? Maybe he wouldn't allow you to make a bow on Shabbat with the shoes, or Yom Tov with the shoes. You would have to figure out some other way. You won't make the bow. You just put it in and then tuck the string underneath, without tying, or wear the, what do you call it? The shoes, the loafers or whatever. You wear the shoes that you don't have to tie in. No, I personally don't wear shoes with laces on Shabbat because my shoes open up. What can I do? So I say I don't wear laces on Shabbat. That's just a little practical way. But maybe that's what he would do. So the Gemara says that's why he didn't even allow you to make a bow. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda, if the author of the Bright is Rabbi Yehuda, so what do you gain by wrapping this thing around and tucking it in? Rabbi Yehuda holds aged maliata boy. You have to do a proper tying. Rabbi Yehuda holds there's a biblical mandate, there's a biblical requirement. Part of the mitzvah of lulav, hadassim, and aravot is they must be tied together. He has a pasuk. We said a gezerah shaveh. It says lekachtem. It says you have to take the lulav and the etrog and the hadassim, and it says by Agudat Ezov, we find somewhere else the Torah talks about taking, use the word lekachtem, and over there it had to be tied together. So too over here, the Gemara and Rabbi Yehuda says it's a biblical requirement to tie it together. So if you're Rabbi Yehuda, then you're not tying it together. So what are you gaining by wrapping it around? You're not gaining anything. You're not doing anything according to Rabbi Yehuda. Meaning to say, according to the Rabbanan who argue Rabbi Yehuda, they hold there's no biblical responsibility to tie the lulav hadash and the rubber to the lulav. The only reason why we tie hadash and rubber to the lulav is just to beautify the lulav. It beautifies it when the hadashim and the ravot, the multicolored, different colors, different things come together, it beautifies it. So it's only a beautification issue. So therefore, if you can't beautify it by actually tying it together, because you can't tie the knot, so therefore you go ahead and you do the best you can. Either you make a bow if you're allowed to make a bow, and if you're not allowed to make a bow, you just wrap it around, wrap a string around it, and tuck in the string. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, if you're saying that the author is Rabbi Yehuda, so what you have to tie it together. Now you can't tie it together because Shabbat and Yom Tov. So what are you doing? Don't do anything. You're not gaining anything by wrapping it around and tucking it in. The Gemara says, "Hi Tana Savalei kavate b'chada, upolag alei b'chada. The Tana of this Braita agrees with Rabbi Yehuda in one halacha and disagrees with Rabbi Yehuda in another halacha. He agrees with Rabbi Yehuda that what? That you cannot make a bow on Shabbat or Yom Tov. That's what he agrees with Rabbi Yehuda. But he does not agree with Rabbi Yehuda that requires that you must tie the Hadassim and the Ravel to the Lulav. That he disagrees. And because he disagrees with that, he has no obligation on a Torah level to tie it together. So therefore, you do the best you can. It's a question of beautification. So it's still the beautification point of wrapping it around. And so that's what the Gemara says. So, I mean, if you would hold that you have to tie it together, so then according to Yehuda, you would be stuck. Maybe you would have to go ahead and get someone else's lulav. You're stuck if you don't tie it together. It would seem that you would not fulfill the mitzvah according to Yehuda. So if it came off on Yom Tov, you can't use it. Oh, you need to own. Okay, very good. The first day of the holiday, you have to own it. You don't. That's only day one. And outside of Israel, we also try to be also the second on Yom Tov Sheni. We also try to we should to make a bracha on it. You have to own it. So but you could go ahead and go to your friend and let him gift it to you on the condition that you give it back. It's called a matana amanas lasif. I don't have a lulav the first day Yom Tov. I will go ahead and use your lulav, but you will gift it to me with the condition that I give it back to you. Or the shul lulav, the shul lulav, the shul etrog, people would use that. It belongs to the people of the shul, the members of the shul. Or someone gifted to you. I gift it to you, or you gift it to me for the duration. It's gifted to me with the condition that I give it back to you. We consider that a gift. The time that I have it, considered a gift, and therefore that's, by the way, if you use someone else's talit, right? If I want to use your talit, I need to go ahead and ask you. You have to gift it to me on the condition that I give it back to you. I can't borrow talit is not obligated in tzitzit. I don't get the mitzvah by borrowing a talit of someone. There's no mitzvah of talit on a talit that's that I'm borrowing for less than 30 days. I have no mitzvah. There's no mitzvah. It's patur. It's exempt from tzitzit. But if I have to be careful, if someone's asked me, Rabbi, can I borrow your talit? My intention is that you should take it. It should belong to you, in the condition that you should give it back to me. That's how. That's why you use a synagogue talit. It's better. The synagogue talit belongs to all the members of the shul. So therefore, it's like you own it. You own that talit. That's why if you don't have a talit, better than borrowing from your friend, use the synagogue talit as long as the talit is in good shape. Or don't borrow from your friend. Ask your friend, could you give it to me in the condition that I give it back to you so I could own it during the duration, and therefore I can fulfill the mitzvah of talit. Jaime, is it clear?
Now it is. You read my mind.
Okay, very good. Oh, very good. Yes. Adam, would you mind opening the fire? Oh, yeah, because she needs someone to open. Thank you very much. Rosa, thank you so much for coming up. Okay. Okay, so now the Gemara, the Mishnah continues. Arava Gezula V'Yavesha. The Mishnah, we're going through all the Arba Minim, all the 4 different species. Now we're focusing on the Arava. So if the Arava is stolen, or the Arava is Yavesha, the Arava is dried out, no good. You can't use the stolen Arava for the mitzvah. Even though I have no personal benefit, it's not that I have personal benefit from it. It's not for personal uses for mitzvah. I can't use it. You can't use it. Sula. And if it's dried out, if the arava is dry, it means it turned white. Arava turned white. It's also invalid. Aravas don't turn white so fast. They remain green for a long period of time. But nevertheless, we see a lot of times that arava starts to get, the leaves start going down. Instead of going up, they start going down. that's a different thing. By changing the aravot, it's beautification. I always buy an extra pair of aravot. I never just buy one set of aravot for the holiday, because I know that during the duration of the holiday, the aravot don't stay. Maybe I don't keep it so beautifully, but they don't stay perfectly. And I want to beautify it. I want to beautify the mitzvah, so I buy another set of aravot. But it doesn't make it so fast, Adam. 1, 2, 3, pretty fast. But technically, the aravot are still green by the time the holiday is over. So it still will be kosher. But you still want to beautify the mitzvah. So aravah that's dried out, but if it's dried out, it's white, it is invalid. And the reason why it's invalid is because we said that it has to be hadar, right? The mitzvah of hadar, of beautifying the esrog, has to be hadar. The Chacham hold all 4 species has to be beautiful. And if it's dried out, it's not beautiful. And that would be invalidate the aravah. Shel Asherah, if it's an Asherah, if it's from a tree that they used to worship in Israel before the Jewish people came to Israel, the non-Jewish people, they would worship this tree. So Shel Asherah, as Avodah Zarah. So that tree, if I revolt from that tree, since it's from Avodah Zarah, it's not valid to be used. And Shel Ir Hanidachat, and a aravot that grew in a city that the majority of the members of the city went off the derech and they worshipped idols. Well, you got to go ahead and all those people that worship the idols have to be killed, and also all the movable items in the city have to be burnt. It's a very serious thing that has to be done. Obviously, it's going to send a message, hopefully, to the Jewish community. And they burn all the items that were detached from the ground. So therefore, if you have aravot that were detached, they have to be burnt. So and I wonder if you want to say maybe part of the idea of burning all the movable items is maybe it's a sign, maybe it's the material wealth of the community that sent it off doing avodah zarah, because perhaps they were serving the money, the material wealth, and therefore they didn't want to serve Hashem. I wonder. I mean, something to think about. But Besula, that is invalid. The aravot of all these aravot that they're from a city, if the aravot has to be burnt, and now let's say they're going to burn it because it was from the city of Ir Hanidachat, but the majority of the people went off the derech, or if it was from this Asherah tree, this Avodah Zarah tree, since it's going to be burnt, we look at it as if it's not here. So therefore, it's missing the size. It's the Arava. It's here now, but in 10 days, it's going to be, they're going to be burning the stuff. So therefore, it's missing in the size, and it's not kosher. Nikdam Rosha, if the top of the Arava was cut off, that means they cut the top of the Arava, the wood, it's talking about the wood, the stem, where the leaves come out from, the wood, the top of the Arava, if it got cut off, that would make the Arava invalid. It's not kosher. Nifrasu, maybe we'll see, but there's an opinion of the Rambam that the top gets cut off, it would be valid. But here the Mishnah, the Rambam seems to be a minority opinion. The Mishnah here obviously has to deal with the Mishnah. The Mishnah says if it gets cut, the top of the Arava gets cut off, the Arava is invalid. Nifrasu aleh. If the majority of the leaves of the Arava fall off, right? Leaves fall off. If the majority of the leaves fall off, it is also invalid. V'asafsafa, asafsafa is a type of willow that grows in the mountains. Sula, that's invalid. We're going to see that the asafsafa has different qualities, characteristics than an arava. It's round. We're going to see other things about it, about the asafsafa, that instead of the leaves being more narrow and it's more wide, And we're going to see some more things about the Safsafa, that that's not, the Safsafa is the type of willow that the Torah does not allow to be used for, it's not, it's like an imitation. It's similar to the Arava, but it's not able to be used. It doesn't have the same characteristic traits. We're going to identify it as the Gemara is going to go along. And Rashi says that its leaves are round, and Rashi says it is invalid. And Rashi says there's a source from the Tanakh. We're going to see that this Arava is something that's called, this is not Arava, it's something else. It's inferior. It's not as good. It's not as beautiful. It's not as good as the Arava, and it's therefore it is invalid. Kemusha, but if the Arava is not dried out yet, it's starting to dry out, but it's not dried out yet, then it's kosher. If it's just starting to dry, it's not white yet, it's still kosher. And nashum mixas aleha, if only a minority of the leaves fall off, not a majority, so then it would be kosher. Shalbal, if it's coming from a field that does not need to be watered, it grows by the rain, and you don't have to add any water, you don't have to water it, and it's not by a brook, it's not an arvei nachal, yet this type of willow is also kosher. So we've expanded the willows to even certain types of things that don't grow by a brook, the Mishnah states, but we excluded the one that does not look like the willow. It's a different species. It's round. The leaves are round instead of being nice and narrow. If you see, like you see how the leaves of the Aravot go. So the Gemara says, any pictures in the Gemara over here? In my Gemara, we have a nice picture. Okay. I don't know if you have the little book. Yeah, check the little book if you have. I think I took out the little book. So here's the little book over here. Here, look over here. See, I don't know if you could see here. This is the narrow. You see, this is narrow, and this is round. Round is no good. It has to be going like a brook, nice and narrow, and like flowing. So let's see what the Gemara says. So the Gemara says, Tana Rabbana. We learned in the Breita. Arvei nachal. The Torah says that the willows are supposed to be, when the Torah identified the willows, it says Arvei nachal. It grew by the brook willows. So we say Hagdelim al hanachal. The implication of this that it grows by the brook. So Rashi states over here, does it have to be, this is not arguing on the Mishnah that it has to grow by the brook only. The Mishnah stated even if it doesn't grow by the brook, grows in the field that's not by the brook, just the rainwater nourishes it. But this is the ideal, the most best way to do the mitzvah is to have ones that grow by the brook. But if it doesn't grow by the brook, it's also kosher. Because it says arvei. Arvei is plural, which is coming to include other types of aravot. So dava acher, that's how Rashi explains the Gemara. Dava acher, a different explanation of this pasuk. Arvei nachal sha'ola shalo moshuch. Its leaf is narrow and long. Kenachal, like a river, like a brook. But an arava that its leaf is round, that arava is not kosher, and that's going to exclude the safsafa. So that's what the Gemara said. Now the Gemara is going to explain. Tanya Idach, we have a different Breita. So again, we say arava has to be narrow. The leaves are narrow and long, like a brook. Tanida. Arve Nachal. Ainly el Arve Nachal. It says it has to be brook willows. That's what when the Torah identifies the willow, it calls it the brook willow. Ainly el Arve Nachal. Shabal Shahor Midnight. How do we know when it grows? Not by the brook. It grows by the mountain, but not the sassafra that grows by the mountain. The sassafra. But how do we know the ones that are grow by mountains that have these same characteristics of the willow, that are narrow and they're long and they're not round? How do we know that they're good? And also the ones that grow not by the brook, by the rain. Talmaloma arvei nachal mikol makom. The language that the Torah doesn't say. Torah uses arvei nachal, plural. And arvei nachal, the plurals come to teach us there's more than just I could have said arav nachal. I could have said arav singular. It's arvei. It's telling you even there's other types of willows that are also kosher, even if they don't go by the nachal. That's Talmud arvei nachal mikol makom. Even if it's not by the brook. And according to Rashi, the brook would be the preferred one, but if you don't have it, you could also use the other one as well. Abba Sholom, and now we're on Lamed Dalet Amud Aleph, Mazel Tov, 34a1. Abba Sholom, Abba Shol disagrees. He says when the Torah says the plural is coming for something else. It's not coming to tell us that you could use aravot from things besides a brook, besides that grew by the brook. Abba Sholom, rather, it's coming to tell us arvei shtayim achat lulav achat lemikdash. He tells us that there's a mitzvah, there's a biblical mitzvah to take aravot for the lulav. There's also a biblical mitzvah in the Beit HaMikdash. They have to go ahead and bring aravot to the Beit HaMikdash. And we're going to learn about it later on, that they would take aravot and they would put it on the side, place the aravot on the side of the mizbeach, the side of the altar. That was a special mitzvah for 7 days. There was a special mitzvah that they had to do. And he says, that's what the arvei nachal. If the pasuk is telling, I want you to take for yourself arvei nachal, the plural. I want you to take one for the lulav, and one for the mikdash. A separate mitzvah that you have to go ahead and by the way, and that's on Hoshana Rabbah when we go around the bima, we go around the place where we keep the Torah, and when we read the Torah from the bima, we go around 7 times. It's because that's what they would do in the Beit HaMikdash. Every day they would place the aravot by the altar, and they would go around every day 1 time. They would go around. Maybe I think they would wave the Hoshanot, but on the 7th day of Sukkot, on Hoshana Rabbah, they went around 7 times. That's what we go ahead and we go around 7 times. So that's the achat lemikdash. That's the plural. V'Rabbanan lemikdash minalahu. How did the Rabbanan know that you go the mikdash, that you have this special mitzvah, this biblical mitzvah of placing aravot by the mizbeach, by the mikdash, in the mikdash, by the mizbeach, by the altar? Where do they know it from? Because they use the double language arvei nachal to include other types of willows that don't grow by a brook. So they use the plural to tell us not only the willows that grow by a brook, even willows that don't grow by a brook is also good. But if they use it, so it's already, you can't double dip. They already used it. So how do they know? How do the Rabbana know that you could go ahead, that you have a responsibility to take that ravot by the mizbeach? So the Gemara says, Hilchat Gemirah. This is halacha Moshe Misinai. This is, I mean, we have something called Torah Shebiksav, the laws that were given in writing, and then there's certain laws that were given orally. We call it Torah Shebal Peh, the oral law that was also given from Sinai as Moshe Rabbeinu, what was Moshe Rabbeinu doing there? 40 days and 40 nights, right? Moshe Rabbeinu went up to get the Torah, to get the tablets. He was there for 40 days, 40 nights. What is he doing there? Hashem is telling him the explanation of the Torah. He's telling him all the oral law, all the Talmud, all the oral law, and special laws that are not written in the Torah, but the oral. That's what this is from, that group of laws that are oral law. The Amar Rav Asi, Rav Yochanan Essen Tiyot, there's a certain law regarding the Tiyot. It means there's certain laws regarding the special law by Shemitah. They're not, there's something called Tosfot Shviyas. There is, you have to add to the Shemitah. There's certain, you have to stop plowing certain time before the Shemitah. Not only during the Shemitah year, seventh year, you can't plow and plant. There's certain types of activities you can't do before the Shemitah. But when it comes to young trees that are scattered in the field within a certain amount of space, you're allowed to go ahead and plow around those trees until Rosh Hashanah, in order that those trees do not dry out. Even though other types of plowing is forbidden, but regarding these young trees, a certain halachot that you could go ahead and plow these young trees. So that halacha comes from halacha l'Moshe Sinai, because we have a law that says that even on a total, you're not allowed to plow certain things before the Shemitah year 30 days before. But these young trees, they're allowed to go ahead and plow, provided that it's a certain area that the trees need, certain area you have to give each tree, around each tree, that you're allowed to go ahead and plow. So that's halacha Moshe Sinai. And Arava, this halacha to go around the Mizbeach, to walk around the altar and to place the Aravot on the Mizbeach, that's also halacha Moshe Sinai. So that, and also Nisuch Hamayim, the pouring of the water on the Mizbeach. There's a special mitzvah of pouring water on the Mizbeach on the holiday of Sukkot. Every day you will pour a certain amount of water. That's also halacha Moshe Sinai. Now, just to understand a little bit, why is every day, besides the mitzvah of, why is there a mitzvah of pouring water on the Mizbeach? And that's called the Simchat Beit HaShoeva, where they would draw the water to pour on the Mizbeach. What's the idea of pouring water on the Mizbeach? Because it says, because on Sukkot we're judged regarding rain. That's why that's also one of the reasons why we have these type of species, the Aravot, the Hadassim, all these things these are things that need a lot of water, Arvi Nachal. These are all things that grow by rain, that need the water, that we want when we do a mitzvah with items that need nourishment through water, agricultural products, right? Why so many agricultural products? Because that's going to be a merit for us, that Hashem should bless the rain for the year. Morning, Mari. Hashem will bless the rain for the year because of in the merit of the mitzvah that we did. So therefore, we have a special emphasis on water on the holiday of Sukkot. So therefore, there's a special mitzvah to pour water on the Mizbeach. That should be a merit, that we're listening to what Hashem wants us to do regarding pouring the water on the Mizbeach. Maybe it's symbolic that Hashem should pour water for us, so to speak. And by taking the Hadassim and the Aravot, and I think the minions upstairs, I would think, taking Hadassim, Aravot, and Lulav with things that are agricultural products that require water. So we took these products. Hashem should bless our year, that there should be a great year, and also the Hoshana. These are Aravot that need the water to keep it, to make it grow. So that should also be a merit for us to have proper rain during the year. So that's the mitzvah of possibly behind why Hashem gave us these type of mitzvot on the holiday of Sukkot. All right, I want to wish everyone a beautiful. We'll be back at regular time tomorrow. All the best to everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.